Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a little holiday cup video for you guys. I think this is such a fun format to play in and I really want you guys to enjoy it as well. So I have some battles for you guys today. I did have a lot of technical difficulties today. Unfortunately, I ran into so many glitches in Go Battle League, not just lag, other things as well. Very creative glitches, I must say, and I'll show you guys some of them in the video. And also I had some technical difficulties with my screen recordings. Unfortunately, I have an entire set that I couldn't record because my phone ran out of storage. And well, that just sucks, but it's okay. I still have some battles that I can show you guys, and I am actually really proud of how this team performed, and I really like this team. The Pokemon I'm going to be using are Chincha on the lead, and I eventually changed this to Shadow Alolan Geodude. Both Chincha and Geodude do pretty much the same thing. They take care of the Litwicks, fire types, and the flyers, especially Ducklet. Ducklet is very common in this cup. And then on the safe swap, I have Vigoroth and Litwick in the back. Now, if you have a Shadow Litwick, I would highly recommend using it. I unfortunately do not have one that is below 500 CP, so I went ahead and made a shiny one that is non-Shadow. Also, it is single moved. I didn't want to pay 75k for a second move on it. It has access to only fire type moves. So Mystical Fire is more than enough for this little candle. I found that the Vigoroth and Litwick core was very, very powerful, and also electric types are very strong in this cup, especially electric types that resist fire types as well. So Alolan Geodude, Alolan Graveler, any of those, very underrated and very, very powerful in this cup. And then they're also going to be good against ice types. Now that's enough rambling from me, let's get into these battles. Now this first set, I do manage to go 5-0. I did get a 4-1 in the previous set as well, but unfortunately I wasn't recording. Up first, we're going to see a Cottony lead, very bad lead for me. Whenever I see a Cottony lead, I will immediately swap into Vigoroth. Vigoroth should be able to reach 2 body slams on the Cottony. Now in this case, they take a body slam and then they swap into their Ducklet. I'm okay with this. They are unfortunately going to be debuffing us with a Bubble Beam. Gonna go for a Rock Slide, unfortunately, because it's debuffed. It doesn't do as much damage, but at least I can get some farm on the Ducklet. Now this is the important part here. They took a really long time to swap out of their Cottony. They took the body slam and then they swapped, and because of this our switch timers are misaligned, so I immediately bring in Chincha. I waste no time. That way they are going to be switch locked against my Litwick, and because of that I am going to be able to take their Cottony out and take that win. I noticed in this cup that misaligning the switch timer is so deadly. I even do it a few times and I end up losing because of it. But anyways, in the next game we are going to see an Amora lead. Gonna go ahead and go for a Bubble Beam, and I shield the first move expecting an Ancient Power because I wanted to debuff them before taking a move, but unfortunately they bait us with a Weather Ball. I could have taken that, but now they're going to go for the Ancient Power here. I didn't think they would bait, but they baited. Gonna be able to reach another Bubble Beam and debuff my opponent again, and this time they let it go, so we're able to take them out. Let's see what they decide to bring in. They decide to bring in a Ducklet. They are very weak to Chincha. Chincha is very underrated. Unfortunately, it did get nerfed with the Spark nerf, and it's gonna be taking longer to reach the Bubble Beams and the Thunderbolts. So that's unfortunate that Chincha got nerfed. It's a very squishy Pokemon. I wish that they had compensated for it in some way. But anyways, my opponent blind swaps out of their Ducklet into their Litwick, and so I bring in my own Litwick because it's going to be resisting everything. The Embers are going to be resisted, and then the charge move is also going to be resisted. And unfortunately, I do let them take us out, but I see here a little win condition where if I get enough energy on the Vigoroth, I might be able to take both the Litwick and the Ducklet out. My opponent has no shields left. All I have to do is body slam the Litwick. I have a little bit of residual energy, and then I can go for a Rock Slide on this Ducklet, take the Ducklet out, and oh yeah, my opponent swapped out of their Litwick with a little bit of HP, but I was able to counter it down. GG's to our opponent. On to the next match, we are going to see a Shadow Alolan Geodude. Now here's something I learned from this matchup. If the Shadow Geodude is good IV, I'm going to be able to reach 2 Bubble Beams against it. If it is attack weighted, I am not going to be able to reach the second bubble beam. So very important fact to note, when I built my Geodude, I built a good IV one. I should have probably gone for one that is attack weighted because my good IV Geodude is unfortunately going to have to take 2 bubble beams from Chincha. So I either lose the lead or I lose both my shields. Now we are able to take the Geodude out. My opponent brings in a Ducklet. Now the only thing I have left really for the Ducklet is the Vigoroth. I'm hoping that because it's Shadow, I'd be able to take it out with a Body Slam, but my opponent swaps out into Cottonee and I have the perfect answer to Cottonee in the back. I'm gonna go ahead and throw my move just because I want my Litwick to be a little bit healthy. I see a win condition here where I can do enough damage to the Ducklet with my own Litwick, and also I can debuff the Ducklet with a Mystical Fire. So I wanted to keep my Litwick a little bit healthy just so that I could get that damage off. And because I see that I'm able to do this damage to this Ducklet, I go ahead and I shield my Litwick and I'm able to take the Ducklet out with the Fire type. Now, my opponent had to take the Mystical Fire because I left with Vigoroth with a move stored. So GG's to our opponent, we're able to take that win. Moving on to the next match, we are going to see a Shadow Alolan Geodude again on the lead. This is where I was starting to think maybe I should be using this as well. So as we've played it before, we're going to go ahead and debuff the Shadow Alolan Geodude, fully expecting them to shield. We go ahead and we take their first shield here, and let's see if in this matchup I am able to get to the second Bubble Beam, because in some matchups I wasn't able to reach it. In this case, I am able to reach it. So let's see if my opponent decides to shield or not. They go ahead and they invest their second shield. Okay, I'm going to be able to come in with Vigoroth and fully farm it down. And then my opponent brings in an Oddish. But because they invested both of their shields in the first matchup, I'm going to be able to take them out with a Body Slam. It one-shots, and they have a Shadow Alolan Graveler in the back. That's so bad for my Litwick, but I was able to do enough counter damage with the Vigoroth to then be able to Ember it down with Litwick. GG's to my opponent. And that is a 5-0 in this first set. Now, I actually started off the day in the 2300s, and with this set, I was able to get back over the 2500s. And I would have kept climbing if I didn't face some glitches. We'll get into that soon. But up next, we are going to see a Swinub lead, so I immediately swap into Vigoroth. I don't like that matchup for Chincha because it is going to be reaching the bubble beams slower than it used to. So I immediately swapped into Vigoroth, and then my opponent brought in a Ghost type. It looks like they brought in a Gimme Ghoul. Very interesting, and they let the Rock Slide go, and the Rock Slide one-shot it. Okay, and then they bring in a Skarmory, and the 2 Pokemon I have left are easily going to be able to take care of this. I am going to bring in Chincha because Chincha resists all of its moves, and I'm going to go ahead and spark it down completely and have a ton of energy for their Swinub. And I think I let whatever this is go here. It is an Icy Wind, so it doesn't take us out. I'm still able to throw the Bubble Beam, and this does a lot of damage to the Swinub, but I have a Litwick in the back, so I'm easily going to be able to take my opponent out. GG's to my opponent. On to the next game, we are going to have an incredible lead of Litwick, and my opponent is immediately going to swap into Wigglytuff. Now, I realized here that my opponent has a Cottonee in the back. I saw this before, Wigglytuff and Cottonee, double charm, and I noticed that maybe I made a mistake swapping the Litwick in. Maybe what I should have done is gone for a Bubble Beam and then swapped into Vigoroth, and that's how I will play it from now on. But my opponent was able to successfully draw out the Fire type and get that out of the way. Now, I am going to bring Chincha back in, and my plan here is, because they are shield down, maybe I can take their final shield with a Body Slam and then reach a second Body Slam, and then hopefully, in my mind, I was thinking maybe I can reach a Thunderbolt on the Chincha, and that should be enough damage to take this Cottonee out. Now, I really thought here that I had to go for that Thunderbolt, but I realized I was going to get taken out, so with 1 HP, I went for the Bubble Beam, and I was able to take the Cottonee out. GG's to our opponent. That was actually very, very, very close. Now, here is where I run into a very frustrating glitch. I was so sad after this because it ruined my momentum. I was doing so well with the team. And then I run into this. I queue up for a game normally, and then it takes a while to start. And guess what? When it starts, my Chincha is already in the yellow. The Vigoroth has, I don't know how much energy, but they're able to reach a rock slide on our Litwick. I thought, okay, maybe they'll throw the rock slide here and then they'll be energy dry. But nope, apparently they have enough energy for another rock slide, and now there's absolutely no way I can win this. So I just top left. And this isn't the first time I've faced something like this, and I can't believe that Niantic has let this go on for so long. They just fix stuff that is benefiting players, but they won't fix the glitches that are game-breaking and frustrating to play against. I'm really ticked off, but let's move on and look at a few other battles. Now in this match, my opponent had led Litwick and they immediately swapped into a Alolan Geodude. Now I had a feeling because of how fast they swapped out and because of the team composition, it made sense that they were trying to draw out the Vigoroth here with the Alolan Geodude, and that meant that maybe they had an Alolan Graveler in the back. Now if they do, it's not looking good for me because my Vigoroth is going to get taken out here and my Chincha doesn't have enough health to deal with an Alolan Graveler. Now because I called Alolan Graveler in the back, I brought Litwick against their Litwick, but unfortunately this Graveler is just going to be able to absolutely destroy my entire backline. GG's to my opponent. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I do eventually change my lead to Shadow Alolan Geodude, and I have a couple of battles to show you guys with this lead. First up, we are going to see a Chincha on the lead. Now, because my Alolan Geodude is not attack weighted, I unfortunately am going to have to take 2 Bubble Beams from this Chincha. I'm going to go ahead and throw Rock Slide right before they reach the next Bubble Beam, but I'm expecting them to shield. They go ahead and they shield so that they could win switch or take my final shield, but I want to keep that shield because I have a very squishy Litwick in the back. I'm going to bring in Vigoroth and hope that the energy on Vigoroth is going to benefit me. They bring in a Cottony and I just go ahead and swap Litwick thinking that they might have another answer to Litwick in the back, but they don't. It looks like their backline might have been very weak to fire, so GG's to my opponent. Unfortunately, they are going to top left. Now this is the last battle I'm going to show you guys with Shadow Alolan Geodude. Unfortunately, as I mentioned earlier, I lost the footage of the 4-1 that I got with it. So here's one final battle. We lead Shadow Alolan Geodude into Aurorus and my opponent stays in. We're able to take it out without taking a move, and then they bring in a Vigoroth. I'm going to go ahead and bring in Litwick and shield the Rock Slide, and then they swap into a Shadow Litwick. Now I have to stay in here, go for these Mystical Fires and debuff, and do as much damage as I can to this Litwick before I bring in my Vigoroth. I'm going to go ahead and invest my second shield because the Embers are hurting. I know I can reach a third Mystical Fire if my opponent does not throw their energy here. And this is really good that they threw their energy here. They're going to be energy dry. I'm going to be able to fully counter the Litwick down, but my opponent swaps out into Vigoroth, going to go immediately for that Body Slam to take it out, and then one counter is enough to take their Litwick out. GG's to our opponent, we're able to take that win. And then this is the only footage I was able to recover from that 4-1 set that unfortunately I couldn't record. It didn't save on my phone like it said because my phone was out of space and I hadn't realized that. So that's an entire set that I won that I unfortunately have no record of. And this is also the last game in the set and I lost this game, so all you're gonna see from this set is this loss. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys learned something. If you guys like my videos, please consider subscribing. Leave a like, it helps me out so much. And let me know if you guys use any of the teams I showed you today. I love to know if they work out for you guys or not. And if you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!